Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yudi Wahatlabiwa. Uh, to those who have subscribed, once again, thank you very much. It has been such a very long time I have done a recording. It has been, quite busy on my side, work, school, and family, everything in between. As that. Okay, so I have started with my pilot of my coaching practice with a certain few people, and I have actually realized how interesting this is and how it's just so fascinating. So one of the people that I was doing the profile for said that they don't understand chakras, and they're like, I've heard someone talking about these things, but I don't understand them at all. So and it still sounds like Greek language. So I've decided to say, okay, I thought there's so much teachings around chakras. There is so much out there in the internet. You can read more into this thing. But I thought, okay, let me see how I can try to teach it as at a basic level. I hope my basic is basic. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a 7 series on chakras. Though the chakras that I'm going to do is gonna be a basis of chakras and psychology and how you can actually implement and put these things into practice, because it doesn't help you to memorize there are 7 chakras and know what the chakras are, yet you don't know how to use these energies in your body. So when we talk about chakras, we're talking about the engine, the energy system, the primary energy system in your body, which runs through your spinal cord, right? So I've done some notes that I would let me put them here that I can refer to. So when we talk about these chakras, we're talking about your spine, right? So now I want us to start. I looked into, I think everyone else, when I started my journey of my spiritual journey, and when I learned about chakras, I was still within the Christian religion, and everything that came across my path, including the chakras, I had to understand them from Christian perspective. I had to understand them from Christian perspective, right? And it was fun at that time. But this is what I'm trying to say. If you are within Abrahamic religions and you are broadening your knowledge and your practice of your spiritual being, you start somewhere. Don't feel guilty when you still see your the stand is moving all over the place. Don't feel guilty when you still looking into these things from your religion, because you need to start somewhere, and you need to give your spirit and your being time to progress and go through the process as it comes, as you grow, So where do I start now? In psychology, most of us might know about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, which were developed by Abraham Maslow. So Abraham Maslow talks about the 5 hierarchy of needs, right? And this is where we're going to start to understand our chakras. So in the chakras, we have 7 energies in the body of the chakra. So as I've said, I'm going to be talking to these chakras on a different series. I'll be doing a chakra. Today we're going to do the first chakra, which is the base chakra, known very well as the root chakra. So the root chakra is represented by the color red, and then it is situated on your base, on your base of your spine. It is, or rather we can say it's on your tailbones, like on your bum, like when you're sitting. If you're sitting and you are mindful of yourself, or you're mindful of your root, you are able to feel the tailbones here on your bum. So those are that's your root chakra. So in order for you to remember, just remember base when you are sitting, on your tailbones, or just remember the base of your spine, right? That's where your root chakra is. And it actually explains itself, its root, right? Roots are what? Grounding. We are grounding ourselves. You are grounding your being, your essence, with the root chakra. You have to be grounded. You have to be grounded. And now we then link it into so it's about grounding, it's about safety as well. So I always say that, for you to understand certain things, you always have to try to link them to something, right? So when you look into the Maslow hierarchy of needs, okay, let me go back into the Christianity or the Abrahamic, whatever religion you come from. So when I started looking into the root chakra, I looked at it because of the blood, because of the color red, and I said red represents blood. So in Christianity, obviously people talk about the blood of Jesus as being the one that saves them. They talk about the blood of Jesus being that which brings security into your life, and so forth and so forth. So in African spirituality, as well as, or in African cultures and the Eastern cultures, blood is seen as a life force. The Indian people or the Western people call it the prana, which is a life energy. So African cultures, we see blood as a life force. So obviously in the Abrahamic religions, depending if you are Islam or Christian and so forth, you then have a particular reference or symbol of the blood. So with Jesus, you talk about Jesus' blood being your savior, or it saved your life, right? I don't even remember how I related it, but it made so much sense to say the blood represents the grounding, the security that I need in my life at that particular point, which I then said that it's related to my base chakra. You start somewhere, so you can analyze where you are and see where you get in, right? So now going further into trying to make you understand your base chakra is that there's someone who said, as I was trying to do research into the papers that have done the comparison between the Maslow hierarchy of needs and the chakras. So they say that because the chakras have been developed centuries before Maslow developed the hierarchy, someone said they wonder if Maslow took the chakras and then turned them into this psychological, the hierarchy of needs. We don't know. And we don't want to accuse anyone of anything, right? I'm just saying what is out there in the research papers. If you're a person who loves reading articles, you can Google articles in the psychology field that have done the work between chakras as well as the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Right. So the psychological needs is the first basic need that Maslow talked about. And this need, it talks about your food, it talks about food, it talks about water, it talks about shelter, it talks about safety, right? It's talk about survival. So it's a baseline of your survival. In short, they call it a baseline of your survival. So when you look into this aspect of what is needed, and when we look into the word physiological need, we look into the word physio, right? So the word physio, according to the research I've done, it is a Greek word. It is a word that comes from the Greek meaning physis. And that means the source. It means nature. It means origin. So when we talk about physio, we are talking about origin. We are talking about nature. So when we talk about nature and when we're talking about the chakra of the root, we're talking about you feeling safe on earth. It's safety of being a physical being. So now what does this mean? It means you need to feel safe on earth. You need to feel that Mother Earth got your back. You need to feel that when you walk on earth, you feel safe. You feel that the ground of Divine Mother God got you. You're not going to fall under this world, but you feel safe. You feel grounded. So these are the things that you need to do when you ground yourself, when you need to ground to realign your root chakra. You need to practice walking with your bare foot. You need to walk not on things, but you need to walk barefoot on the ground so that you can feel the soil, or you can feel the grass, you can feel the stones of the earth, and that reminds you of divinity, divine Mother Earth support. So that's what you're doing when you are dealing with the base, because this is where you also feel the shelter. We talk about shelter, we talked about food, we talked about water. And when you talk about water, we're talking about feminine energy. And this shows you that the root chakra, it's also healed with the water. It needs to be healed with the energies of feminine, because we're dealing with Mother Earth. All right. So we talked about the Greek mythology. So the other thing that you need to remember is that this I'm going to read is about the central nervous system, right? So the central nervous system of your body communicates between your brain and your spine. So communication within your body happens here, from your spine to your brain. So it's there, even in, I don't know, is this biology? Whatever that, yeah, I think it's biology. So you understand that your spine is the primary communicator to your nervous system. So it's all these energies that they regulate what you then become, and they regulate what you then experience. So if you don't feel safe here on earth, that's the communication that this nervous system are creating. You don't feel safe. You are always not either at the look, you are fearful, you have anxieties and all that, because you probably feel like something is there to get you, or you feel like you don't belong here on earth, you don't have connection with Divine Mother Earth. So you need to work with the energies of Divine Mother Earth. Right, so we talked about that, it is grounding. We talked about its connection to the Mother Earth, and then its connection to the red color. So that means either you are relating, if you are relating the red color with blood, we are then talking about, depending on where you're coming from, and then from my point of view, it's related to the life force, and this is where your life starts. Your prana start, your life energy starts at your root chakra. So how do you know that your root chakra is it's actually blocked? So it goes back to what we have already said. Due to that, this chakra, it's about rooting, it's about grounding yourself, it's about security. It means that when we look into the breakdown of the physiological needs according to Maslow, we see that we're talking about basic things: water, shelter, food, and all that. So it means this then talks to your money energy, right? It talks to money, because you then, in the world that we live in, you need money to go buy food, you need money to get yourself a shelter, you need money to buy yourself clothes. So money is an energy that carries your physiological needs. So if your finances are not in place, then you are all over the place, then it means that there is some connection that it's lacking in your root chakra. So you then need to work with your root chakra. You need to then get to the root. You need to get to heal your roots. All right? So the starting point of healing or aligning your root chakra is to first identify yourself. Identify who you are, your essence, your DNA. I'm not talking about your DNA that we talk about in biology or in the science in the lab. We're talking about your spiritual DNA that is held from your zodiac signs, right? So if you are a person who is a Scorpio, like myself, who is deep emotions, darkness, transformations, and all those things, it means that whatever experience that you come across in your life are going to be of that nature. So to ground yourself, you need to then first understand where you are in life. You also need to know what exactly in this physiological needs it's not making sure. So you need to understand, how do you connect with the environment? What is your relationship with the environment? And when we're talking about relationship with the environment, we're talking about how do you care for Divine Mother Earth. When you plant something, if you are a person who plants something on the ground, do you speak to Divine Mother Earth? Do you say to Divine Mother Earth, I'm about, this is respecting Mother Earth, this is grounding and understanding that it brings life, it holds things. Divine Mother Earth holds everything that is here. We are able to build the houses that we live in, we are able to plant everything that we consume, the animals that we eat, they move around in this very same earth. And we also have the beings of the water that we eat as well, and this is talking to your water energies. So you need to see yourself. How are you treating nature? How are you treating your environment? How are you connected to Mother Earth? Because if then you also evilize or demonize Mother Earth, you are already not aligning yourself with the energies and the power of Divine Mother Earth, right? I was reading a Bible this other day, in a way that I wanted to understand creation, right? So there I realized in the mythology of Christianity, when they were talking about creation, I wonder where I made those notes. They talked about, certain elements being given power over certain things. Divine Mother Earth has the power of holding all of us and of producing life. So if you don't understand that particular thing in the mythology of Christianity that you follow, or mythology of your Abrahamic religions that you follow, or any of your cultural teachings, then you will not be able to connect your root chakra. And if you can't heal, and if you cannot come to understand your roots, then you won't be able to, when you talk about nervous system, or even when you talk about your physiological, we're talking about some system that follows a certain logic. So you cannot start from your crown and come down here. You can go up there and you can also come back here. You go up there and you come back here. That's how the energies then shift around. Okay, and then so that they can always also maintain the balance, because you also don't want to always be there on your higher spirit. But then the minute you are here, you reach your crown opening, then you are able to connect your grounding. You understand things better without also having to disconnect yourself from being grounded on earth, right? So we talked about that. So how do you then heal your root chakra? I've talked about you need to have practice of walking barefoot on the ground, on soil. You need to meditate with the intention of feeling earth, the intention of feeling that as I'm seated here, I need to know and feel my spine base, my tailbone, and know that I am grounded. I am grounded. Even the couch that I'm sitting on, it's grounded. Even underneath, going down to the foundation of the place that I'm living in, the shelter that I am in, it is grounded and it is therefore safe. And therefore I am safe. And when I walk outside, I appreciate the plants, I appreciate the nature around me, and I appreciate the environment, and I am mindful about that, right? So you need to be mindful about it. So in positive psychology, I connect this whole practice and healing your root chakra with self-determination theory. The self-determination theory is a theory that was written by Dana and Racy and Dana, right? Yeah, Racy and Raina. They have three parts of self-determination. One being the competency, one being the agency, and the other one being the relatedness. So the root chakra, when you're dealing with the root chakra also from a positive psychology point of view, you can look into the competency. So when we talk about competence, we're talking about mastering the skills of your experience, how you master living in the environment. This again talks about in the environment. How are you competent in the environment that you find yourself in? When you talk about environment, we're talking back again into Divine Mother Earth. Because if you don't have this safety with the environment, if you don't feel safe in the environment that you find yourself in, you won't be comfortable and you won't thrive. You won't thrive. And sometimes when we talk about environment, we talk about, you find yourself in a room with certain energies, certain people, and you just find that this atmosphere here, it's not. But sometimes you are unable to know that the atmosphere is not right because what? Because you are not connected to your root. You are not connected to your roots. So your root chakra also goes into your rooting of your culture. It goes again into the rooting of your history of a being. It goes back into the rooting. What makes you here on earth? You know, this also connects you to your ancestral lineages. It connects you, and when I talk about, you connect your ancestral lineage of the blood, again there, the blood rooting of your base, and we're talking about your soul ancestors there. We're talking about the gods and the goddesses that root you, that support you here on earth, and with anything that has to deal with physicality, money, your clothes, as we have said, and extra things. So these energies and principles of God and the goddesses and your ancestral lineages, they are there as principles that teaches you. They are there as energies that are rooted in you, and you need to get to connect with them. And you need to connect with them. Positive psychology also, they talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness, we also know they teach mindfulness in the Eastern teachings, that you need to be mindful of where you are. You need to be mindful of the environment that you find yourself. You need to be mindful of your origin. When you talk about physical needs, always remember, when you're talking about the root chakra, you are talking about physical need. You are talking about your physicality as a person. You're talking about anything that has to do with your physical being. So you have to ask yourself, what is your physical being? Then to understand it, then you are able to know, what does this physical being need to thrive? What does it need for its well-being? And then you start connecting here from your roots, right? You start connecting to your roots. I'm sorry, I'm sure there's a background of music. I'm playing some music at the background. I hope it's not destructive. I will check when I listen, because I don't edit my videos, so it's gonna come as it is. Yeah, so okay. So what else did I miss? So we have touched on that. I hope it is clear. Just remember, when you are dealing with your root chakra, we're talking about your physical being, we are talking about your physical need, we are talking about your physical security, we are talking about your roots in terms of where are you connected in your, but all of us, we are connected with Divine Mother Earth. And then we talk about our different ancestral bloodline connections. We talk about our soul, different soul ancestors as well. We talk about God and the goddesses that we are connected to us. We talk about all the guides of the earth, of the planetary. We talk about, when you're in Africa, here in South Africa, we talk about the God and the goddesses of our continent as our roots. They know how we function well, they know and understand our well-being, how we can go about our flourishing, living in this continent as a black child, right? So you need to connect to those things. I understand that some people who, especially when you are still within the Abrahamic religions, there's a lot of fear, and also that talks about your root chakra. When you're still having some fear around things, know that you are not aligned in your root chakra. And that's how you then are able to know, once you are aware of this particular things that are just seems like your life is all over the place, you don't seem to have order, like it's just a mess. So you need to then know that you're grounding. It starts there. You're grounding, right? But it does not really start there, right? Because I've talked about your spiritual DNA. I'm talking about your spiritual DNA. We are talking about your zodiac signs, right? There is this thing I read about the 52-day cycle, which is they call it a life cycle. Some people call it a birth portal, a birthday portal. I like to say a birth sun, or a sun birth circle, because this is where it's your daily renewal of your sun cycle on a daily basis, because the sun cycle, it's on a daily basis. The moon cycle is on the 28 to 29 days, right? Because as the moon operates within that longer circle, whereby within it you have time to do certain things. There's time where you are just like, no, we are resting. There's time where your energy is high and you are doing and you are flowing and that. But when it comes full moon, you get it. It's a time for you to just and release as well. When new moon comes, you are dealing with other energies, like a new life, new beginning. You're starting over. So with the sun circle, every day you are starting over, every day. So it's a masculine energy, and unfortunately that's where we find ourselves, that in the workplaces that we work, we work with the sun circle. Every day you are expected to be active and work. And as a feminine, that doesn't really work for us, right? Because we don't operate like that. We operate with the cycles of the moon. So when you now understand your 52-day cycle, to know in this 52-day cycle of my life, I am going through a certain planet. You're going through Mars. Perhaps that's an energy whereby you are acting, your action, it also deals with your anger issues that you need to deal with and so forth. So you need to then know which chakra am I working with in that particular season or in that particular cycle. Then you are able to heal your energies. You are able to heal your system, and your guides are there to work with you. And as you go up the chakras, you would see things starting to be in place. Okay, I'm not saying you're gonna wake up with millions, but at least you will have order in your life. You would have a system in your life, and you would understand. And I'm not saying, sometimes people can mix I say positivity and grounding and the work of the spirit, as in like you face no challenges and you face your life. It just means that you know how to be resilient as well. It gives you to know where to go to. When you are dealing with emotions, you are dealing with which chakra, what it needs, and how you should go about it. You are dealing with divine feminine energies. You know what to do and where to go to. So you have resources. And this is one of the model that I love so much in the positive psychology of the broaden and build of positive emotions, because then you need to build your resources in order to have this a flourishing life, a flow of life. I'd like to say it's a flow of life. It's called flourishing, but it's a flow. You need to have that flow, and you need to flow like a river. So as you flow like a river, if you go stand next to a river, it flows somewhere, there are stones, it goes up, then it flows, go down, it just moves like that. It doesn't mean that there's just a flat surface. There could be stones, there could be trees where in life, and that's how it is. The most important thing is to know that you are aligned, because when you know you are aligned, then you are also going to fix your mentalism, because that is also another thing, right? So the root also help you with that, because if your root is not okay, you will not be able to fix the mentalism. You have to work and with your mental capacity to change certain beliefs, to change certain doctrines that have been taught to you that are not helping you with anything, and that are not taking you anywhere. I say to people, when I say I'm no longer going to church, and they're like, you're gonna go back. I'm not gonna go back. I'm not going to go back, because I have learned to work on certain things that I'm unable to do when I am affiliated. So I rather deal with things when I'm not affiliated, and I don't have to seems as disrespecting any person. You get it? So work with those things. I've said, if you want a profile, you can reach out to my email address. It is there on my profile here on YouTube. I am only on YouTube, so then I can do a profile reading for you. But then my profile then has to go into the coaching. But if you just want a profile, I can also just do a profile for you. But if you want to transition into a coaching consultation, where we go through, be 3 months, can be 6 months, but if you have deep things to deal with, it will be 12 months. So you can just contact me if you want to deal with those things, so that we can see how your circles are going. We can see which chakra you are dealing with. We look into your soul cycle, where you are in terms of your soul cycle. There are 4 cycles of your soul. We look into where you are numerologically, energetically, with the energy of the numerology. Where are you? Your zodiac signs, where are you? And then we look into the support of the planetary energies and principles that are working with you in that particular 52-day cycle. And obviously we always have to work. We work in alignment. We just don't work with the sun. We just don't work with the moon. We work with both energies, right? So it means also on a monthly basis, you are dealing with a day-to-day sun circle and masculine energy. You are also dealing with day-to-day the moon circle, which is your feminine energies. And you need to know the moon cycle, the moon energy lasts today in each and every zodiac sign. So you need to know those things. You need to know where you are. Sometimes I've experienced with myself when my emotions are starting to not emotioning, when I'm starting to feel like I want to be here, then I know mindfully that I'm probably into my my autumn week. Because the other way to understand your moon cycle is to also go with the seasons, because the moon cycle also operates within the 7 days. In the week you have 7 days to go through the summer season, the autumn, the winter, and the spring. So you understand yourself within those seasons to say from this and this and that. And therefore, if you are working with this particular chakra, then this is where you are. These are the energies that are available. This is why you are feeling the way you are feeling. But then you can do 1, 2, 3, to balance your hormones and also to regulate your nervous systems. So it's a system. We cannot shy away from this physical reality and and the things that govern us. We just need to understand them for the better use of our being, and for the better use of growing in our spirit and also in our physical experiences of life. As I've said, life is about experiencing, and you can only know things once you experience for yourself. Today I went into buying my candles and my incense, and I see these young ones going around the shop, and I hear them to say, some of the things here is like a witchcraft. And I was laughing internally to say, oh, wow, I'm sure I've been there, but because we see certain things and we see witchcraft, and we don't even understand what is witchcraft. We don't even understand the word witching and crafting. What does that mean in the spirit? But that's a topic of another day. That as I'm going around, I'm like, yo, how words can actually put us into fear. And fear is a lower energy as well, but it's not as low as shame, but it is also a lower energy. So my peeps, today that's where we end. If everything that I've said makes no sense, just remember we talked about the root chakra, and we connected the root chakra with the Maslow hierarchy of needs, of physiological need, which there Maslow have indicated that this is a basic need that governs your basic things that you need, such as water, such as shelter, such as food, such as clothes, any basic thing that any person, any human being needs. It is talked about these things, and these things are connected to your Mother Earth that carries us. So when we talk about the root chakra, we're talking about rooting, we're talking about grounding, and we're talking about feeling the Mother Earth, respecting the Mother Earth, and healing it, meaning you do work like meditation, where you sit and you feel your tailbone, and you sit with it and connect to divine Mother Earth, the grounding of the Mother Earth. And we have also said that your root chakra then means getting connected to the roots of your blood ancestors. We have connected your roots to your soul ancestors. We connect your roots, your divine God and the goddesses. We talk about your connections with your spirit beings, or rather, I didn't talk about, but I think some of them, the energies, you have the higher beings, angels, the higher God and the goddesses, and not that the gods that I'm talking and the goddesses are lower beings. They're actually not even closer to lower energies, but you connect to those that support you in the physical realm. You need to know this for yourself. Who is there to support you in your physical realm? And that also talks to you when we talk about physical things. I don't know if I've done this recording or I did it, maybe I didn't share it. When we talk about the physical material things, we're talking about feminine energy. So that is why people will teach African cultures or African spirituality. They will tell you your mother, your maternal side, it's responsible for your physical things. It's responsible for you to have money. It's responsible for you to have physical things. They're not there to deal with your protection and your what other things that your masculine, your paternal side do. So those are the things that I'm talking about. So if you don't know your people, if you don't know where you come from, if you don't know your roots, at least know something there to start with, to start working with. I've said to those who are listening here and who are still within the Abrahamic faith, connect it with your Abrahamic faith. I've given an example of the Christianity, that when I started my journey, I connected it to the blood of Christ, the blood of Jesus, because Christ is a spirit, it doesn't have the physical blood. So we're talking about those when we talk about that. And the color that we deal with, it's about it's red, right? So some people even go further into talking about the foods that you eat to support your root chakra, right? don't remember much of it, but your foods like your beetroot, I think your red fruits and all those things, but all these things are in the internet. Next time when I do the recording, I'll remind myself to search about the foods that support your root chakra. Okay, so I'll see you next time with the recording of the second chakra. And so also to let you know that the chakras, we have 7 chakras. So we divide them. So we don't only have the 7 chakras, right? We have 12 chakras, but most of the time we are looking into the spine, these ones that we're talking about, the 7 chakras, right? But we actually have the 12 chakras, as much as we have the 12 tribes, as much as we have the 12 zodiac signs. All these numbers are very important. And when you look into the 12 sign, when you take it into numerology, is 3. So you need to look into the energy of 3 to understand all these things, but we are not there. So the lower chakras, and I'm not saying lower does not mean they're not important. There is no importance into it. It is just how we understand. So when we talk about the lower chakras, we have since we have 7, so we have the 3 lower, and we have the 3 upper, and we have a connector. So the connector is your heart chakra, right? So your 3 lower chakra is the one that we cover today, which is your base chakra, your root chakra. Then you have your sacral chakra as your second chakra, which is going to be our second discussion or teaching on our next recording. And the third one is your solar plexus. So these are the 3 ones that are regarded as your lower chakras, and you'll understand how they link each other when I do the sacral teaching. As I said, I hope my basic is basic for those who are still trying to understand the root chakra. So yeah, that's it for me, and goodbye. Remember, if you need a profile, just send me an email. Thank you and goodbye.